All right, as we wait those final seconds out to get some more attendees, Bill, can you just confirm that you can see my screen this time?
Yes, it says welcome ambassador call.
Awesome. I know last time I started talking and nobody could see what I was talking about. So we got the basics out of the way. With that, I do see we're at the top of the hour. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm sure others will join us as we get going. But welcome to the July Ambassador Call. For our newer ambassadors, I'm glad you can join us. We have this call every month, usually the second Monday of the month, to help celebrate your successes, give you news you can use, and equip you with tools to help you tell your ShelterBox story. So to remind us why we're all doing this, every day, ShelterBox is preparing for disaster. Disasters are happening all over the world. Just like recently here in Paraguay, we see that flooding. This is actually a recent photo that's been uploaded to the asset bank. And we are here for families like those who have been impacted by disaster like that we see in Paraguay. So thank you all. We don't tell you enough. We can't thank you enough. And sometimes the words thank you just don't do it. But we thank you for everything that you're doing, the weekends, the evenings, the different times of day that you give up to share ShelterBox so that we can help families who have been displaced due to disaster. Today's agenda, we're going to share your successes. I want to give some shout outs to some recent activities that you guys have been doing, announce our ambassadors of the month. And then last month, I may have talked a lot. We heard a lot from me. So this month, I'm dedicating the call to you all. We have some special guests that will be joining us, Kelly White, Tom Dewson, and Anthony Hansen, to share some of their successes and tips and recommendations for their fellow ambassadors. Of course, as always, we have news that you can use, Rotary updates from Bill. We want to go ahead and remind you about Cascadia, Buy a Home, Give a Home, and a few other tidbits that you can take back with you. We'll also make sure to highlight our current deployment, which you should be seeing on Facebook if you're following us, and in the newsletter that'll be coming out. Now let's start off with successes. So I just want to give this team again a round of applause. These are our top 10 fundraisers. So shout out to Tom Dewson, Don Jorgensen, John Keene, Louis Turpin, Wayne Childs, Jeff Lighty, Mary Sloan, Jamie Yeats, Jack and Nancy Fadigan, Dean Caldwell, and Anthony Hansen. You have made our top 10 fundraising board. But there have been 66 ambassadors who saw funds come in because you were out there telling your ShelterBox story. And with 350 activity hours reported, our team raised over $86,000 for our mission. So thank you. We couldn't do our work without you. And some of the work that you guys have been doing, we have Anthony Hansen, who presented his ShelterBox story to his home club, the West Salem Rotary Club. He said it was a great experience. And what he thought was interesting was that 3/4 of the crowd had not heard the message before, even though he knows that somebody had come in prior just not too long ago and shared ShelterBox. So I think that's encouragement to say, keep going, keep telling, because you never know what new person is going to hear the ShelterBox story. And I have to give a shout out to Pamela, Jean, and Janine, who were inspired by our display in Hamburg. And they set out to recreate the experience. I think they did a really good job. And they were able to put their new pieces to work at the Love Rocks Run. They said that over 1,200 people attended. They were introduced to ShelterBox. And I just want to shout out their ingenuity and great display. And I don't think either one of them could join the call today. So make sure to catch up with them. You can find them on our Facebook group and see how they did it, get some tips and tricks. A little bit of a blurry image here. It was a snapshot of a 360-degree picture. I haven't figured out the best way to capture that, but here we have a snapshot of a ShelterBox event that we worked with Airbnb. They're one of our corporate sponsors. They worked that relationship out of our headquarters in UK. We brought Ned Morris down from Walla Walla to give a ShelterBox experience here in San Francisco, and he helped facilitate a ShelterBox experience for them. They said it was great. Bill Tobin was there, Carrie Baptista was there, and everyone said that it was a job well done. And I know Ned couldn't join our call today either, but Bill, I know you're on the line, and I'd love for you to share a little bit about that Airbnb event.
Well, it was a lot of fun, and it was kind of a pilot for us as both staff and volunteers of seeing if we could pull off a corporate training style event. It was very well received. The Airbnb Open Homes group is part of Airbnb, and they work in disaster relief, which was totally new to me. I had no idea of the connection there. And what they do is they work with the hosts, the owners of the Airbnbs, to on a couple different levels. One is to help with those displaced, and the other is to help house disaster relief workers. So it is highly likely that in the future we will have response team members who are able to spend their precious few off hours in the comfort of an Airbnb property. So it was a lot of fun. We did some of the challenges similar, but not real close to safe. And it was a wonderful team building experience for them, and hopefully the start of a new avenue which we could solicit the way we do things as a way of helping to bring some revenue into the organization.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I knew about the event and I still learned something, so thank you. I want to give a shout out to Carol. Carol, I know you're on the phone, but here you are at the Rotary District Conference, the District 5330 in Cathedral City at the Doubletree Resort, showcasing ShelterBox. And I appreciate you always have the enthusiasm, big smile, and ready to share. So thank you. I know that you are still well connected in the Rotary Network, and I'd love to hear how your presence at the district conference went. So I'm going to unmute you. Hi, Carol, can you hear me?
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, good afternoon. So how did it go at the district conference?
Well, good. A lot of new presidents came up to see me, and I think I've got about 10 requests for presentations in the new Rotary year.
Well, that's
around
great.
The district here. And a lot of the presidents, again, didn't know about it. We have a new district governor, and for starting July the 1st, and she actually asked me for the following week if we could do a presentation. Well, I rallied around, and Parker was kind enough to go to her club for me because it was such short notice and do a presentation. Now, as the district governor, she then, after Parker's presentation, got back to me and said, thank you for sending Parker to do the presentation. However, our club is not sending in a donation because we're not part of Rotary. So I wrote immediately back to her as the district governor, telling her that she should know that we're a Rotary project partner. These are all the resources, where to go. And that she should have an international project in her Rotary Club citation for the district. Also, that the new Rotary International president of the whole of Rotary should have an international project for the clubs to get a citation on as well. So I was a bit disappointed that that wasn't, they weren't aware of that. So she said she was going to go back and give that to her club's president, the information that I gave her. But yeah, we need to do a better job of informing the district people that we are a Rotary project partner.
Well, thank you, Carol. And I think that's exactly why we're at these district conferences, everybody. That's why we're meeting with these presidents. And thankfully, we have Bill Tobin, who is our Rotary Relationships Manager, who is getting out there and making sure to communicate more and more to our district leadership. But I think it goes to show we're always going to stumble across somebody that needs that education, that needs to be shared with them, the education of how ShelterBox and Rotary are woven together. So it's a perfect example of why we go out and we do what we do. Sometimes it feels redundant, sometimes it feels unnecessary, but then you have a case like that, and we had the opportunity to expand our mission to a whole new group of Rotarians. So thank you, Carol, for bearing with us and getting that information out there and making sure that you took part in sharing the ShelterBox story with them. And here we have Frank. Frank, these are images of a 3-day sizzling road show. And if you follow the Ambassador Facebook group, you got to see these pictures as they were being posted. But Frank would say, sizzling day one, here he is at in Savannah, Georgia, at the Metro Savannah Rotary Club, and there he is with his service above selfie. And then we have sizzling day two, which is the road trip where he found himself in Hawkinsville, Georgia, at the Rotary Club of Hawkinsville. And then sizzling day three, he found himself in Macon, Georgia. And Frank, I know you're on the line and you've always got a little sizzle to share. So I would love it if you would want to come off mute and just talk about maybe one, how you went about planning this 3-day sizzle trip, and how that all came to be.
Well, first of all, thank you for the very, very kind words. I guess, can you hear me? Yep.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's unmuted. Yeah, what I have discovered is it's easier for me to block 3 or 4 days off and just get in the car and line up as many speaking engagements as possible, spend the night in hotels, and just bam, bam, bam. So it's a little bit difficult to corner these presidents-elect, get them to commit, and then geographically, I try to pick cities that are within close proximity from each other. And this particular trip was about 500 miles total round trip between all 3 cities. And it's a lot of fun. You're very blessed when you have this opportunity to hit 3 different areas. And the picture that I love the best is the one to the left. This is the Metro Savannah Rotary Club. And I always try to start them up and get everybody fired up and doing the selfie. And they said, Frank, can we pick the box up and throw it around and take a picture with it? And I said, that has never been asked, but feel free, guys. So they picked the box up and kind of had a mosh pit with a box. And anyway, it just great, wonderful, and raised some money doing this. And I've got a 4-day road trip coming up October, a 3-day road trip September, and a Thursday I'm out in Milledgeville, and then I like to bundle them up. So anyway, a lot of fun. The pain in the butt is trying to line them up, get all these people to commit in advance, and that takes some effort.
Thank you, Frank. I like what you said, try to bundle them up, make the best use of your time and their time, and getting out there to share ShelterBox. And a new phrase we have, ShelterBox Mosh Pit, that was new. So thank you, Frank, for giving up your time doing these road trips. We appreciate you. Here we have Tom and Marie. They shared this heartfelt photo. There, you can find them at pretty much all Rotary events, non-Rotary events, but here they were sharing that this is a picture of Kelsey, who was a member of an Interact club. And they're the only Interact Hero club that they know of, at least especially in their area. Kelsey helps to lead the way in collecting dimes and water bottle strays, $1,000 each year for ShelterBox. And this is an instance where their story has inspired this group of youth. It's our future Rotarians, our future ambassadors. And we're just so thankful for you, Tom and Marie, that you go about and give up your weekends to tell the ShelterBox story to everyone far and wide. And I want to thank you. I see that you are on the line. So I'd love to hear how that water bottle fundraiser came into play. And the reason why I'm focusing in on that is because we talk about different ways to collect donations, and a water bottle is a great way to recycle and to raise money. So Tom, if you have more information about that, I'm going to take you off mute. Hi. Oh, they may have muted themselves. All right. We'll come back to you, Tom. Thank you both for what you do, though. We appreciate you. So let's go into some ShelterBox exposure. If you haven't already seen the Welcome to Rotary that was posted by Rotary International, you will find about 50 seconds in, you might notice some guys there. We have Ned Morris, and I believe that's Wes Clanton, and right there in their vest, you see our ShelterBox logo, but we're in the Rotary International video, you guys. And I think that goes back to Carol saying more people need to know that we're a Rotary project. There it is. It's right there. So feel free to grab this. It's on our Facebook page. You can also find it at Rotary International, and tell them how we're incorporated, that we're a part of the Rotary story. Another exposure and shout out We have Steve Tonkinson, who recently joined the Hall of Fame. He got a nice article at the Miami's community newspapers where you see him featured. He's actually carrying a shelter box on his back. He is an SRT ambassador, and he does a lot to spread our mission in his community. He's not on the phone today, but I want to thank you, Stephen, for your efforts in telling the shelter box story. And Tom, I did see you try to come off mute, so I am going to unmute you now. See if we can go back and share a little bit about that water bottle fundraiser. Hi.
Yes, one of the adult advisors heard about it from a football team, which did that for a fundraiser. So the idea is you just get empty water bottles, small ones, that are big enough to put a dime in, and they fill those bottles with dimes. And every year now for the last 3 years, they've collected over $1,000 each year by putting dimes in water bottles. So,
and the Rotary Club that sponsors them, we visited not too long ago, and they said that every time they go to a meeting, they're told to empty their pockets to use for the water bottles.
No, that's perfect. And I love that they're using an object that we all have access to. We know we've definitely been talking a lot about plastic, and here they have the opportunity to take that, raise money, and they have a container on the go. Plus, of course, anytime you're with somebody saying empty your pockets, usually we've all got something in there, right? So thank you guys for coming off mute and sharing that with us. And then I'm actually going to hand it over to Sarah, because we had some very unique shelter box exposure at the Outdoor Retailers event. And I might not even be saying that right. Sarah, are you on with us?
Yep, so the Outdoor Retailer Show is an annual event that happens with the outdoor industry, and so a lot of brands go and demo their new products, and it's a way for retailers to see what's available and, do bulk buying and that type of thing. But for us, it was a great chance to connect with potential supporters and companies who are wanting to bulk up their corporate social responsibility programs. And so we talked to various suppliers about partnering together for things like Giving Tuesday and World Water Day and other similar campaigns where they could encourage their buyers to give back to a good cause. And so our gear obviously resonated with a lot of people and got to hang out with some of our great ambassadors. And so we'll look forward to updating you on some future partnerships as they come to pass. But we got to share a booth with our partners at Luminade, and it was, great to kind of be in front of a new audience. And so, I would just offer that if others have companies you would like us to talk to about looking for additional ways to partner and how they can give back. We saw a great example earlier of an employee engagement event that Bill and Ned worked on. We have other opportunities for businesses to get involved and to give back a portion of their sales, or to, as I mentioned, do a Giving Tuesday campaign. And so if anyone would like to put forward a name for some of those conversations, we'd be happy to talk more about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks.
And a little bit more of ShelterBox in the news. We talk about our mission being in the news, but you all are a part of that mission. And here we have, another ShelterBox SRT, Bruce Heller, being featured in his local newspaper. And, we're being celebrated for the work that we do. But again, that's part of our mission. We're representing our mission, and y'all represent it so well. So thank you, Bruce, for being active in your community and for all that you do for our mission. And Kelly Wyke, too, was also featured in her local paper. She scanned this article into me. We're going to be hearing a little bit from her a bit later. But you can see she's all set up. She's sharing ShelterBox, and her story got featured. The way she shared that story got featured and shared. So we're very grateful for her. Now, without further ado, it's the time I love to celebrate. We have our ambassadors of the month. And although they're not on the phone today, we are proud to announce Janine Murrell and Pamela Jean Myers as our ambassadors of the month. And after these two joined our ambassador team, they really did jump in full speed. I can see them always trying to do something to become stronger in sharing their ShelterBox story. So in addition to attending in-person ShelterBox trainings, we saw them at SAFE, we saw them in Hamburg, at the Hamburg event and at our booth. They also led the charge in coordinating the District 5100 ShelterBox experience, from getting a display coordinated, making sure we had space, to doing a little reception, just really taking the bull by the horns, going above and beyond, giving 110%, like many of you do, to spread our mission, including replicating our Hamburg display. So congratulations, Janine and Pamela Jean, much deserved. Now, I'd like to toss it over to one of our special guests. We have Kelly Wyke on the line, who is going to talk to us a little bit about her presence in her district, how she's fundraised. She's one of our newest Hall of Fame members. So Kelly, one of the first things I'd like you to answer is how you came to be an ambassador yourself.
Well, one of our members came back from a district conference and asked me to bring a ShelterBox program to the club. And we didn't have an ambassador in the area. And so I ended up being the ambassador in the area. And that was many, many years ago. So that's how I got to do it. We didn't have one at all in our district. And now we have 3 or 4, depending on how you count them. So it was a request for a program, and I ended up as being the ambassador.
And we're so glad that you are. Now, thinking back in the years that you have been volunteering with ShelterBox and being ambassador, can you think of one of the most successful fundraisers you've either participated in or helped coordinate?
Well, you know which one that is. And I helped you coordinate Eric Elsie's Paddle Down the Mississippi. And I coordinated the last 20 nights and tried to find places for him to stay and speak. And I'm so excited because he's going to speak at our district conference next year. He's already been spoken to, and he's already said he would come. So that's pretty exciting to me. But that's my big one.
That is great. You did help a lot with that. We're so glad. You know, for those that don't know, I picked up the phone to Kelly and I said, look, we have this whole leg of the Mississippi, and, you know, we're coming up on a year about that now. With this whole leg, we need help coordinating. And she went out there, hit the pavement, and she called Rotarians all down that Mississippi to get Eric coordinated. So thank you, Kelly. And now when we look at your time as an ambassador, and you know that there are some ambassadors on the line, they're new to the role, they're working on gaining that traction with their fundraising. Do you have any recommendations, tips, or suggestions for them?
My tip is just to keep on plugging and keep on asking. And I found lately that it's very important to explain that ShelterBox does not just send the box anymore. ShelterBox sends whatever they need. And they don't waste money by sending things that they don't need. And that seems to resonate with a lot of the clubs, and they like that a lot. Also, you can't just have people tell you no because they had a program a year ago, because this young man that you can see in the picture with me has only been a Rotarian a couple weeks. So there's always going to be those new ones who haven't heard the message. And as I listen to the call today and talk, I need to do it in my club again, because we have new Rotarians who haven't heard the message too. So just keep plugging. Make sure you get to the district conference and district events and ask for speaking engagements. And I've got a whole list now that we made it to July. I've got a whole list of people I have to contact to see about it. The other thing I would suggest is you get into the district leadership and make sure that you have their buy-in. We got a message in the newsletter today from our district governor, and she supports ShelterBox and is asking the clubs to support ShelterBox as well. So you have to get their buy-in, because if you don't get their buy-in, you're not going to get the buy-in from many of the clubs. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, no, and that's perfect. And you kind of already answered the how to grow awareness within your district. That's, work with that district leadership, be present at district events outside of the, and keep plugging. So outside of those 3 things, would you say there's any other gems of secret tools, secret tips, anything different that you did outside of those 3 things?
I can't think of any.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much for being on today. Again, everyone, this is Kelly White. She's out of Pennsylvania. She can be found on the Facebook group. I don't know, Kelly, are you very active there? I don't see
No.
you. No?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, when you guys see the recording that goes up on the portal later, I'll include Kelly's email address if you guys have any follow-up questions. And congratulations again, Kelly, for being one of our new Hall of Fame members.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, and now we also have another ambassador, special guest Tom Dewson. Tom Dewson, also a Hall of Fame member and the coordinator of the ShelterBox ride. He gave us a few pictures to share, and I'll be clicking through them as we talk. But Tom, I'd love to take you off mute, and I'd love for you to share how you came to be an ambassador. And it looks like you're muted on your end.
How's that?
That's great.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to share my ShelterBox story with you. My ShelterBox journey started on January 13th, 2010, the day after the Haiti earthquake. It happened that my Rotary Club met that morning and something really neat happened. We started talking about Haiti and what we could do to help shelter and what we could do to help, and ShelterBox was brought up. We were already annual donors to ShelterBox. We spontaneously decided to fund 3 shelter boxes and to start fundraising for ShelterBox. I had recently physically moved and joined a new club. My old club didn't do any international service, and I had never heard about ShelterBox until then. We started fundraising in the mall every weekend and going to every event that took place in our area. And over the next 6 months, we raised about $30,000 for Haiti. And as I got to learn more about ShelterBox, I became more and more impressed. I happened to see a write-up on the ShelterBox website about the ambassador program. I applied and became an ambassador in early 2011. Since then, I've had a lot of fun raising funds for ShelterBox. A couple of neat things I've been involved in. One was a classical piano concert for Haiti put on by an Italian Rotarian in the US who's a world-recognized pianist, to a rocket concert for a Japanese earthquake, and most recently the Interact Club having a Halloween costume fundraiser. I've been very fortunate. I've been able to combine 2 of my passions, that is ShelterBox and bicycling, in the form of the ShelterBox ride. This year was our 8th ShelterBox ride, and to date, we've raised over $89,000 for ShelterBox. At the beginning, when I had an idea of a bike ride, I purposely made it a ride rather than a race. I wanted to keep it laid back and relaxed and not have the expense of timing it, which would be very significant. I started by talking to everyone that I could think of, including Rotarians, riders, and community leaders. I spent time with the director of the YMCA, learning about the elements that go into a successful event. And I also volunteered at a couple of events to learn more about taking care of the participants and making it a great experience for them. As a result of my first due diligence, the ShelterBox ride was much different and much better than my original idea. Our first ride had 66 riders and raised about $3,300 for ShelterBox. Over the years, we've continued to grow, making significant gains each year until 2017 and 2018, where our ridership dropped off. And I think that was primarily due to a very late rainy spring. We live in the northern part of New York State, and people just weren't able to get out and do a lot of riding beforehand. But even though we had dropped numbers, we raised over $10,000 in each of those years. This year was just a great year, totally surpassed my expectation. we grew 50 riders and had a total of 155 riders and raised $17,000 for ShelterBox. Over the years, the secret to our success has been a committee of 8 people that guide me in fine-tuning the event. The committee is made up of both Rotarians and non-Rotarians, but all but one of us is a rider and very avid riders. The key to putting on an event is to choose something that you know something about, are passionate about, and surround yourself with smart, committed people. A portion of our mission statement is to provide an event that takes riders' safety and rider satisfaction as our first priorities. We know that if we take care of the riders, we will continue to grow in numbers of participants and in ridership and in revenue as well. The way that we've been able to grow revenue is through commercial and individual sponsorship. This year, 9,800 of the $17,000 that we raised came from those sponsorships. In our case, it's much easier to control sponsorship than it is to control the number of riders that we're going to have. And each year, it's a little bit easier to renew sponsorships than it was to initially get them the first year. We worked very hard at making the event a fun event for our participants. We have donated spaghetti and meatball lunch after the ride, and random rider drawings for donated prizes, gift certificates, and so forth. We get everyone in the ShelterBox tent that we set up because we post the prize winners on a whiteboard inside the tent. And that's the only way they're going to know that they won something, is going in there and checking it out. One of the things that we haven't broken the code on is fundraising for ShelterBox, or having rider fundraising for ShelterBox. We've tried several approaches, including awarding a brand new bicycle to the top fundraiser, raffling off a bicycle to people that have raised at least $100 for ShelterBox, and waiving the entry fee for people that fundraise at least $250. None of these attempts have been successful for us. So I'd love to hear any ideas that you have that will help us break the code on having our riders fundraise and feel very good about it. I want to thank you so much for sharing my ShelterBox story. And I want you to know that in addition to the ShelterBox ride, I do club visits, I do presentations, I go to conferences, and also to pets for my Rotary district, as well as some surrounding districts. Thanks very much.
Oh, thank you, Tom. Very well said. And I like how so far, Kelly covered her tips for working within the Rotary district. You're covering, a special event segment in addition to, working within the Rotary district. And I know you travel a bit throughout and beyond your district to share ShelterBox. And thank you. Now, we've covered these two areas, and I also wanted to bring on Anthony Hansen, he's a fairly newer ambassador, and he took ShelterBox out of the box, so to speak, by seeing an opportunity with a corporation. So, Anthony, I'm going to take you off mute, and I'd love for you to start by telling us what led you to be an ambassador.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Sheree. I appreciate the time. And Tom's a hard act to follow, so I will do my best. But how I got into being an ambassador, I was the immediate outgoing president last year, so just over a year ago, and I ran into the existing Northwest lead, and had some conversations there, and one thing kind of led to another, and I ended up being an ambassador. My wife said, "Hey, you need something to do after you're done being the president," so she kind of helped me make that decision. So it was a great decision, and it's been fun to tell the story. I like to use a lot of pictures and props as much as I can. Here I'm holding a doll in the picture. A couple of people have commented about how shiny my boots are, which I think is pretty funny. But no, in all seriousness, it's a great story to tell. There's a lot of really cool props that you get to use. And that's one way that I like to tell the story. If I forget, if I lose my place, if I get, if that kind of happens sometimes in a presentation, I'll just look over at the kit, pull something out and say that they should take a look at this when they're done. So I use a lot of those kinds of tips and techniques, I should say, to get through those stories. But like I said, the pictures tell the story for me and make my job very easy as an ambassador. So, and then I think the other thing we wanted to talk about was, so I work for CenturyLink. I'm one of the engineering managers on the West Coast. And so I had pinged my boss a few times, and after seeing some of the different charities that the company supports over the years, and I said, hey, why don't you get me an audience so that I can talk to them, like the president of Indirect, which is the area that I work in, about ShelterBox. And he kept trying, nothing really happened. Then all of a sudden I got a call from the director of charitable giving for CenturyLink. And she's been in the business of giving for a long time. And so we got a chance to sit down with her. But prior to doing that, I got a chance to talk with Jessica and Sarah. We brainstormed for about 30 minutes on some different things that we could kind of internally prepare. They gave me a lot of good questions to ask. And then also I gave them some insights about CenturyLink, and the idea was, hey, let's use this as an opportunity to try to get some more exposure inside of CenturyLink. And out of that meeting came an opportunity, we think, to be a spotlight charity organization on our internal website at CenturyLink. And so in doing so, that'll give us a chance to do like a write-up, who we are, what we do, where does the money go, those kinds of ShelterBox 101. And so to me, it's going to raise awareness, donations. And so for I guess the bottom line for us is we just need to continue to follow up. And I think it will give us some additional opportunities outside of that. Because the cool thing about corporate life is that, and I'm not talking about my job, but corporate, from the standpoint that we talked to Sandra Smith, she's our director of charitable giving. She apparently has a large Rolodex that she's going to share with us at some point. And so hopefully that opens up other opportunities for us to kind of penetrate the corporate market and try to get more, more folks that are just like her in the same position to go ahead and spread the message of ShelterBox. And I guess the last thing I would say is, as a tip, is just to be persistent. If you work for a corporation, just kind of keep pinging your boss, keep mentioning it, those kinds of things, because they'll get tired of it and they'll want to hear the message. And once they hear the message, they'll realize how cool ShelterBox is. And so that would be my recommendation, to kind of get yourself in front of like your director of charitable giving.
That's awesome, Anthony. Thank you. And I've heard a theme throughout all of our guest speakers today, regardless of who the audience was, whether it was Rotary, whether it was the community and committee and planning an event, to corporate. And the theme I hear is be persistent. I want to thank all of our guests for being on. Again, when I post the call recording and the PowerPoint, I'll include Anthony, Kelly, and Tom's email address on the portal. So if you have follow-up questions or want to hear more about the steps that they've taken in these different fields, you can reach out to them and get inspired. So now let's move on to some news that you can use. So I'm going to hand it over to Bill. Bill, I would love for you to share what's going on with Rotary.
Well, thanks, Cherie. Happy New Year. That's what's going on in Rotary. July 1st, obviously, a fiscal year Rotary goes by, so it's a brand new year for us. And so all new district governors, the whole line moves up one in the district governor realm, all new presidents, new ideas, new budgets. So it's so important for us to get out and like, I think it was Kelly who was saying, get out in front of those clubs again. It's a new year, and I couldn't agree more. Carol mentioned something about talking to a district governor who didn't know much about ShelterBox at all. Of course, that always catches my ear, and I looked at my email, and it's no fault of ShelterBox. We've been corresponding with her quite regularly since January. But it just goes to show you never know. You can send someone a dozen emails, you can call them 3 or 4 times. Sometimes it just doesn't get through. So persistence is a wonderful carryover theme. Cherie, you couldn't have picked a better word to summarize what's being talked about here today. This slide right here is was something I didn't expect in doing the analysis of the club giving last year, and that's the number of clubs that are giving. And only 14 districts had 25% or more clubs making a donation in 18-19. You can see the breakdown of those clubs there. A couple did outstanding work with more than half the clubs in a district giving, a couple in the 40 to 49%, so forth and so on. I don't think it's that hard of a goal for us to reach as ambassadors and advocates of ShelterBox here to try and if your district's not on this list right here, try to get 25% or more clubs to donate this year. If you're in one of these brackets, try and move it up a bracket. And if you happen to be here from 7210 or 7040 or really anywhere, there's the district challenge out there, and that's any district that could get 100% of the clubs donating. But I think what you see here is although we talk to a lot of clubs, that persistence is important, and sure, as important as that surely is the follow-ups after you visit a club, the thank yous, the keeping your name and the ShelterBox name on their radar. That's so important.
Yeah, Bill, before I get to that next slide that has the action that they can take, I want to say that, if this is sparking curiosity in some of you, like, well, how did you come to figure out what clubs are donating, how can I get my hands on that data? Reach out to me. I can pull that for you and happy to do it. So you can kind of see who's really engaged and maybe who you can reach out to re-engage them with ShelterBox.
Yeah, and I didn't put any club amounts to that slide. It's just about participation, because if more clubs participate, the revenue will go up. That's about as plain and simple as we get it. So like Frank was saying earlier, if you could group a couple meetings around, a couple of days off you may have, or if you are fortunate enough to be retired or in control of your own hours, go out there and get some club updates going, and then that takes us right here to what we can do right now. And of course, follow up last year's clubs, reach out to new clubs. That growth is so important. We could reach more clubs, we could reach more people. We've had recent updates to the Hero program, so there's a great icebreaker, especially if you've talked to a club before about Hero. Well, the rules have changed now. So clubs, it's more reciprocal instead of a pledge. So when they give $1,000, we can make them a Hero club instead of trying to coordinate a 3-year pledge. District challenge I just spoke about. It's not unobtainable. I think it's very doable. Small clubs could do $100, medium clubs $1,000, large clubs $2,000, $3,000, or $5,000. I don't think it's that far of a stretch. I'm going to push like heck to get it done in my district this year. We were in that 25 to 30% bracket, and I'm like, come on, we could do better than that. So I'm right there with you, Rotarians. I'm pushing hard in my district. The action toolkit, I think it really needs to get some more traction. It's shelterboxusa.org/ all one word action toolkit. There's a look at it there. You go back a slide now that we've seen that. There's so much information there. As ambassadors, I would say it nearly rivals the portal. I think the portal's got more in-depth information for sure, specific to what we need to do as ambassadors. But the action toolkit's a great place for clubs to get information, or for you to direct people. Oh, you want to know about some fundraising ideas? Well, you give them what you have in your memory, and then send them the action toolkit for more information. So that's, I guess, what it is. It's a great more information site to send Rotary clubs. And at the district level, submitting something to the district newsletter. Even at the action toolkit, we've got some stuff that is pretty recent. It's still last Rotary year, obviously, because we just started the new Rotary year, but it's recent enough to just forward it along to the district governor. Now is the time to get the district conference table space, tent space, podium space, podium time, a breakout session. This is when that district conference planning is really taking place. So even a keynote speaking position at your very own district conference, it's doable. Make the offers and send Cherie or myself or Sarah an email with your district conference date and see if maybe someone from staff or an SRT or a board member might be available to come and be a keynote speaker at your district conference. Anything's possible. You need to ask. And of course, just a presence, like I think again was Kelly and I think Anthony also kind of alluded to it, was just being out there, be present. You're not gonna get clubs to donate money if you're sitting at home. So be available. I know the amount of time we have is all different, but I think we all can understand that when we work together and we could help more families who need it. So last but not least, of course, with that district governor line moving up another year, that's a whole new blank slate we have in the future for district governor nominees. So if you'd be so kind as to send the nominee contact information if you haven't already to me, and I will reach out if I don't have any district governor-elect contact info. I've got every district governor in the United States, so thanks for all of your help, ambassadors, in the last 6 months to get all that together so it was ready to go on July 1st. I think that's it. Is there another slide there? I don't think so.
No, I was just going to say Nancy Dodge brought up a good point that she's when working with Rotary contacts, it's good to work with the Rotary assistant governors. And she also mentioned their monthly teleconferences.
Yeah, exactly. Districts get a lot of information, a lot of feedback on, for example, Polio Plus giving. Their district meeting, the district governor's meeting every month, someone will be reporting about how the Rotary Foundation is doing in their district. That's information you can get from Cherie on ShelterBox. How was the last month in the district for ShelterBox? How many clubs have donated and how much? We lose a little bit of that when we start talking about individual donations, a little bit of privacy involved. We can't exactly disclose all that information, but as far as club giving, which is what district governors really want to hear about, that's something we can provide to district governors to take in an email, or to an assistant governor to report back to the district governor, or to actually try and get a seat at a district governor's monthly meeting and do your quick, a lot of them are online now, so it's similar to this fashion right here, and you do your quick 2 minutes, you're in, you're out, and your day goes on. But that kind of interface at district governor level is so important. And I'm working right now diligently in areas where we have no ambassadors. So as new ambassadors come on and new people get excited, it's just like this meeting every month. It just really invigorates myself, the staff members that listen in every week just love this meeting, and you ambassadors are so inspiring. So with that, I will mute myself, and everyone have a great July.
All right, thank you, Bill. Thank you for telling us what we can be doing now to help promote ShelterBox within Rotary. And coming back to the slide just for a moment, so we have the link there, but also note that I have built this into the ambassador portal. It's a featured post, but it's also under Rotary resources now. So while this is a direct page on our website, you can find it on the portal, and there's a little summary about it as well. And you're welcome to take that link and share. We have a template for a post that you can do on social media, as well as an email if you're sharing it through email. All right, so I know many of you are wondering what's going on with the Spring Challenge. So just as a refresher, the Spring Challenge started March 22nd and officially ran through June 30th, though giving everyone a grace period through July 15th. End of day, July 15th is cutoff for submitting those activity reports. But I wanted to share the leaderboard with you. It has grown. So we have some new additions. And if you are new to this leaderboard and you haven't already received your USB flash drive, know that it will be coming to you. We have in the lead right now, Ned Morris with 17 activities. That is 17 times. Actually, any number on here is somebody who has presented ShelterBox to an audience or displayed out into the community in some capacity, being available at an event, sharing ShelterBox, exposing others to the ShelterBox mission. And when we're doing so, we grow ambassadors and we increase the funds that help forward our mission. So thank you everybody for participating. I look forward to officially announcing our winner on July 16th. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It'll be on Facebook. And of course, the announcement will also be shared in our monthly newsletter this month. Want to give you an update on the Presidential Volunteer Service Awards. For those of you that don't know, the White House administration recognizes volunteer service hours. Anybody can go to this website, submit their volunteer time, but as a benefit to our ShelterBox volunteers, we actually go through, we take all of the hours that you've reported. If you are an SRT, we take your deployments. If you volunteered in office, we take all of this into consideration. Board members, if you're on a committee, all of this, we add all those hours up, and we submit all at once the hours to the administration. I have since submitted for the 2018 year. I want to let you know that there is a change. If you received the award in the past, know that this year we're receiving certificates only. Unfortunately, although I checked every week for about a month, they continued to be out of full packages. And so wanting to get these into your hands sooner than later, we are submitting for the certificates. So all will be awarded as the hours reflected, and those will be going out soon. Hannah Reel will be working on our press releases, and we look forward to announcing and celebrating you. So keep your eye out in the mail, see your Presidential Volunteer Service Award. All right, and you all need to reserve your spot today. I just want to encourage you, we sent it out with the reminder today. You're going to see it on Facebook. Probably a few of you are going to get a direct email from some of us here on the team, because we want to see you in Cascadia. We opened up a new safe experience. We are looking to get a head count though. So if you are even thinking that you can be there, I would really encourage you to register. We're going to cut off the registration on July 19th. Because after that point, we're going to need to know if we have enough people to put this on. So we're asking everyone to confirm that they are going to be attending. Again, getting a head count. We want to see you there. I promise you, this is going to strengthen your ability to tell your ShelterBox story. So we appreciate if you would give it a register. Click that link that you've been seeing and register today. Now, I believe I've got Carrie Baptiste on the line. She doesn't know this, but I'm going to throw it over to her. We've been talking about Buy a House, Give a Home for a while now, but I want to have Carrie come on the line and talk about any new information to share or what other tools might be coming our way regarding this program. Carrie?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the monthly ambassador call. And thank you, Cherie, for including this in the presentation. So I had the opportunity to hang out with one of our wonderful ShelterBox response team members, as well as an ambassador, Ned Morris, last week. And he was asking questions like, what is Buy a House, Give a Home? I've heard about it. I'm not really familiar with it. And so I thought, I know I've spoken to the ambassador call once before, but I thought it would be a great idea to revisit this idea with the team and just give you an opportunity to reach out to me directly with any questions that you have. So what the Buy a House, Give a Home program is it's a program specifically directed towards real estate professionals. So not specifically real estate agents, but anyone in the real estate market, whether it's a mortgage company or a brokerage or a real estate agent. So anyone who's in the business of putting people in homes. And what it is it's an opportunity for them to build philanthropy into their personal brand, and to give back and to raise awareness in their community of their philanthropic efforts, as well as do some good in the world by providing families who have lost everything to disaster or conflict with a home every time they put a family in their community in a home. And so the way it works, you would sign up to participate at a certain level, and we've built in 4 different levels. It goes all the way down to $50 to participate per home sold, and then all the way up to $1,000 per home sold to participate. So we wanted to make sure that we built in these levels so that nobody was left out who wanted to participate. And so for every home sold, you would donate at your desired level. And with your initial donation as a real estate professional, ShelterBox would then put your name and a link to your website on our Give a Home program recognition page. And so you're getting recognition on the website. You're also getting marketing materials to promote your involvement in the Give a Home program from ShelterBox. We have some signage designs. We also have some co-branding opportunities so that you can put ShelterBox on your signage if you want. We also have a one-page flyer that I'm going to forward to Cherie for her to send around to the ambassadors. And the reason that we are giving this program to the ambassadors specifically is because you are all likely very involved with Rotary, you're all members of a club, and every single club has a real estate agent. And so even if you're not a real estate agent, you would know a real estate agent. And so it's a great opportunity to present to a club. It's a new talking point to present to a club. It's a new opportunity to engage with a different demographic that you maybe haven't engaged with before. One thing that all real estate agents are members of is their local real estate associations. And so it would be worth reaching out to those local real estate associations to see if you could present at one of their meetings. I don't, every association would be different, but it's usually a weekly meeting that they have, or even if you could get on their email list, or if you could send an email out to their constituency of the Sell a House, Give a Home program. And the way that we're marketing it is that it's an opportunity to give back and to do good in the world, but it really does help build that personal brand for a real estate agent. And so if you have any questions, I know I've kind of given you a lot of information in one go, and it's just a very brief overview. I have a more in-depth PowerPoint presentation that you can add to your slide deck when you're presenting to Rotary clubs. I have a one-pager that you might have the original one-pager. We have condensed it a little bit after feedback from different ambassadors as well as real estate agents who wanted a little bit more of a targeted message. And so we have a new one-pager that I can give to you, as well as some of the marketing materials that we'll provide to real estate agents. And then another small talking point that I have learned in sort of the soft launch of this program, which might be useful to you ambassadors when you're presenting, is that it's a great talking point for real estate agents who are participants, who are members during an open house. Because often people like to stop at open homes and they like to check, what's on the market, what other people live like, but they're not necessarily in the market to buy a house, and they don't necessarily want to talk to the real estate agent. But if you walked into an open house and a real estate agent had a banner of Give a Home program that they were a member of, you would be far more likely to speak to them and engage with them on this charitable thing that they're doing, and not necessarily the home that they're selling, but it would then translate in the future to potentially a client for that real estate agent because they've already built that relationship. So I think it's going to be a great program. It's just sort of starting to take off, and we're already seeing a great response. But if you guys have any questions at all, or would like that PowerPoint, I'll send that around to Cherie so she can make it available to you as well on the ambassador portal. But I'm happy to answer any questions, connect with you, or if you want to connect any real estate agents directly with me, that would be wonderful as well. So thank you all for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you for all the work that you've done and put into this program. Ambassador, so as Carrie said, she'll send me the materials. We're going to add it to the existing featured post on the ambassador portal. Again, just equipping you with more tools. And I will also include Carrie's email so you can message her directly with any questions. So look at that when you are going to the portal for Buy a House, Give a Home. Some quick other information I wanted to share with you. And Nancy, I'll see if we can get to your questions. I'll connect you with Carrie directly. Carrie, Nancy Dodge has some question for you. I wanted to let you know, I don't know if you guys have seen, many of you probably have the little circles on the back of phones that pop out. So they're called pop sockets. And we are an official pop sockets partner. We've done the work. Thank you, Jessica Metcalf, to get us to be a ShelterBox, a Pop Socket Poptivism partner. And you can see these are the designs we currently have up. Now, anybody can be an artist. So you can go create a design to sell, and you can see it can be ShelterBox related or not ShelterBox related. And we will receive 50% of the purchase price from the people who are buying these. So you may not use one of these little pop sockets yourself. It's great, especially for younger kids. If you've got kids, grandkids, we're using them. It helps you take a selfie, or you can move your phone and pop it up, and it's easier to view the content if you're sharing a video or pictures. That's why these exist. So if you have more questions about this, feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, it's also on the portal to share with you how you can become a designer for pop sockets and help us raise some money in the process. Another opportunity, we have Amazon Prime Day. Now, if you have an Amazon account, I'm sure you've been spammed recently. The Amazon Prime Day is coming. Make sure that you put the smile.amazon in your email address when you are Prime shopping this year, because we get a kickback. We get a percentage of those sales, so you can have your Prime Day and give to ShelterBox all in one shot. So that's just your friendly reminder. And here's our current operation map. This also is on the portal. This is where we are currently working. This is updated just as of last week. It'll be up there all July. And for these updates and where we're working, you can get up-to-date updates on our Facebook Live. ShelterBox every Tuesday shares where we're monitoring, where we're working, and information that you can use when you're telling your ShelterBox story. Now, everybody, I am out of time today. So I want to thank you all for joining, for giving up an hour of your day to be inspired, to be equipped, and to learn how you can become stronger in sharing your ShelterBox story. Nancy, I'll be sure to connect you with Carrie. Are there any other questions before we all let you go? All right, I'm not seeing any. You know how to reach me if you do think of anything. And I just want to thank you all. Again, we said at the beginning, we say it all the time, but we do mean it. We couldn't do this work without you. I wish you all a wonderful day, a great week, and I'll be talking to y'all soon. Thank you.